Hey Bears fans, a lot's coming up on today's episode of Chicago Bears Now, including a lot of news from earlier today, but I want to ask you this question first. What will the Bears' record be in 2020? Scroll on down to the comment section, the very top one, it's the pinned comment. Reply right there. Give me your record predictions. Check it out. I'm saying 10-6. Give me your record predictions for the Bears right there in the comment section. And with that being said, let's jump into the latest news and rumors. I want to start with this piece of news before we get to the quarterback competition. Both Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky spoke with the media earlier today. We will get onto some of their comments in just a few minutes. But first, John Jenkins has been placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. What this means, we talked about this with Artavis Pierce briefly a couple of videos ago, not necessarily that he got the coronavirus, but that he has been in contact with someone who has tested positive. You're seeing tons of players around the league being placed on this list. Doesn't mean their season's over. Doesn't mean they're not going to play. Just means that for a period of time, they are not on the active roster. He will be back on the active roster at some point. It is somewhat notable, though, right? Because he's the only other nose tackle after Eddie Jackson who opted out. So, for example, if the Bears had a practice or a game today, they wouldn't have a nose tackle. Like, LaCale London is not a NFL nose tackle. He's a UDFA. That's about 275 pounds. Like, that's not going to get it done at the nose tackle spot on the inside of that defensive line. Now, obviously, you could slide Bilal Nichols over, in the meantime, but I still think even when Jenkins returns, he's ready to rock for training camp and all that good stuff, you still need to go out and address the defensive tackle, the nose tackle spot here for the Bears, because losing Eddie Goldman thins out your depth, and it just makes things a bit trickier at that spot on your defensive line. Now, before we continue more on this story in a second, I want to remind you guys to get subscribed to the channel. Coverage continues to ramp up. We finally have notable things to talk about. News, training camp is here. We're gonna get you caught up on the latest rumors that are always circulating. We got one of those later in the show, and you're not gonna like it. I'll give my thoughts on that. We do Q&As and much, much more. We have it all here on Chicago Bears Now. Hit that big red button and subscribe for all of it today. These are some guys that, they're not great, right, these free agents, but they're guys that you could bring in that at least are depth players. Snacks Harrison, he's debating whether or not to play this season, but I think that's a player that the Bears should consider bringing in. Marcel Darius. You got Mike Daniels as well. I'm intrigued by Xavier Williams, a bit of a younger player. Did some good things with the Chiefs a couple of years ago, was banged up last year. Now he's available on the free agent market. Brandon Meebane's certainly older, but on a one-year deal, still was pretty effective for the Chargers last year. There are guys out there that can at least be rotation type of pieces, if not challenge John Jenkins for that starting role at the nose tackle position. So he has been placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. We will see when he returns. Hopefully that is very, very soon. So who should the Bears sign, or should the Bears sign a veteran defensive tackle? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think it's a no-brainer. You need to bring someone in right now. Now, Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles have spoken to the media like I alluded to earlier in the video. Look, Mitch talked about a variety of things. He said, hey, I've worked on my mechanics this offseason. I feel like I'm throwing the ball better than I ever had. That's classic storylines this type of year, right? It's best shape of your life season. It's, I worked on the throwing mechanics, the 5-step drops, all that stuff. He's saying the right things. I get that. He says, look, I just want to prove everyone wrong. Kind of wish he would have started doing that last season, but hey, you got another chance here in 2020. Here's a little bit more from Mitch earlier today. Showing up, being prepared, and going out being the best quarterback I can be for this team is my mindset. So, hey, you've seen stories kind of pop up around the internet that, he's been focused, he came into camp in really good shape, and all that is great. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how he performs in these training camp practices, and then if he is named the starter, how he plays under the lights, because that's going to determine how the Bears play this year and his future overall in Chicago. Deal of the day here on Bears Now is the Stronger Together collection. We've got t-shirts and hoodies available on sale right now at chatsports.com/Chicago Strong. A lot of these are still available. I mentioned the t-shirts, the hoodies. Women's gear is available also. You just go to that link, chatsports.com/Chicago Strong. As we're filming right now, these hoodies are like $35. T-shirts are like $15. Like, it's a great deal, high quality gear as well. Rep the Bears. We're all stronger together at chatsports.com/Chicago Strong. That link will be in the comments and in the description. Nick Foles also met with the media, saying, okay, first of all, I'm getting caught up because I'm still annoyed by this random guy on the internet. Foles he's opting out. No, he's not. He addressed that rumor during his media session, saying that was never a discussion. And the reason someone floated it out there, and this is very dangerous by people on Twitter, and this is the problem with social media these days. He has a 7-week-old daughter. So basically, he connected dots because some other players have opted out because of having young kids, like a Marquise Goodwin. Every situation is different. Don't just assume that because someone has a young kid, they're not going to play this year. Nick Foles alluded to saying, hey, this is a big year for my career. Also had this to say, and this is very Nick Foles, very on brand, always a team-first guy, which is why I liked it when they brought him in, because he will roll with whatever the punches are. Whatever the coaches say, that's what's best for the team, and then we will roll as the Chicago Bears. This is a guy who's comfortable with being a backup. Now, he certainly wants to play. He wants to be a starter. He knows 2020 is a big year in his career to reestablish himself as a starter, but if he doesn't win the job, he's going to sit back. He's going to be Mitch Trubisky's biggest teammate, biggest cheerleader, and he's going to be ready to go if his number is ever called. That's what he's done throughout his career. That's what's made him successful. That's why he was able to come in on multiple occasions for the Philadelphia Eagles and lead them to deep playoff runs, including a Super Bowl, because the guy is a total pro. I'm excited to see how this competition plays out. Both were classy with the media earlier today. It's going to be fun to see how it all goes once practices and pads officially go on. Now, I've asked this question, who's going to start? Who's going to be the week one starter? A little bit different today. Who do you want to start? Who are you rooting for to be the Bears starting quarterback? If it's Mitchell Trubisky type T, if it's Nick Foles type F, I actually think you want Trubisky to start and play well because he's younger, and if he can somehow figure it out, maybe you've got your franchise quarterback. But let me know, T for Trubisky or F for Foles. All right, a rumor here before we wrap things up. Allen Robinson, could the Bears trade him? Well, Pro Football Focus threw this one out there, and this is classic, late July, not, a ton of newsy stuff out there right now. You see a lot of this from Bleacher Report as well. A trade all 32 NFL teams could make, during the season. That's basically what Pro Football Focus did here with all 32 teams, and they made an okay point of, look, if the Bears aren't playing well and they're 2-4 before the trade deadline, they could ship Robinson for a pick and basically tank and go draft a quarterback. Here was the snippet from the article. If the Bears start the season slowly, wide receiver needed team will be calling the Bears for Robinson, and considering the team might be in a market for a quarterback in 2021, it could use all the draft picks it can get. I understand that standpoint. And I'll ask this question before I give more thoughts. Would you trade Allen Robinson for a first-round pick? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Obviously, it's all about circumstance. If the Bears are 0-6 and someone offers you a first-round pick for Allen Robinson, maybe you consider it. But I think that's a very extreme example because you do not give up number one receivers in the National Football League. I've made that point time and time again. Unless you are tanking and entering a multi-year rebuild, you don't let guys like Allen Robinson go. You just don't do it. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it makes sense for the Bears. This is a guy you can build around and have a cornerstone of your offense be in Allen Robinson. He is that good. It's about figuring out who your quarterback long-term is as the starter. Is that guy on the roster? I don't know. I know this, if you let Allen Robinson go and Anthony Miller is your best receiver, you're in some trouble. That is not what you want at the wide receiver position. So, I understand what Pro Football Focus is saying is, look, the season's a disaster. Go get more picks to draft a quarterback next year. I understand that. But it would have to be really bad. I'm talking 1-5, 0-6. Let's just take a first-round pick for Allen Robinson bad for the Bears to go this route. I think they should offer him a contract extension. That has not happened yet. I don't really understand why. Hopefully that happens in the very near future. Something else that should happen as we sign off here, get a Bears Stronger Together t-shirt or hoodie. Both are available at that link. Again, it's in the comments. It's in the description. It's chatsports.com/Chicago Strong. That is the link in the comments in the description. Take advantage of this sale today.